China and Japan are engaged in a war of words that is lighting up editorial pages around the world as Beijing takes aim at its recent visit by Japan's leader to a controversial war shrine and Tokyo answers back. Japan's ambassador to the U.S. fired the latest salvo Friday, accusing China of a global propaganda campaign that portrays Prime Minister Shinzo Abe as glorifying Japan's militaristic past. It is not Japan that most of Asia and the international community worried about. It is China. Ambassador or Kenichiro Sase wrote in the Washington Post. The dueling opinion pieces, appearing in a growing number of newspapers around the world, come as both nations have been criticized for recent actions. China's declaration of an air defense zone over a disputed area of East China Sea and the Japanese Prime Minister's visit to Yasukuni, where convicted World War II war criminals are among the many enshrined. Chinese diplomats have been especially blunt. Ambassadors have accused Abe of a gross trampling upon world peace and human conscience on the Pacific island, of having put the international community on high alert in Australia, and doing something akin to laying a worth at Helter's bunker in Madagascar. The most headline-grabbing exchange today was in Britain's Daily Telegraph, where the ambassadors of China and Japan compared each other's nations, in some shape or form, to the evil Lord Voldemort of the Harry Potter books. Beyond trying to win over world opinion, the pieces are also an attempt to play that nationalist opinion at home. The antipathy between Japan and China is rooted in Japan's occupation of parts of China, often brutally, in the first half of the 20th century. The ties have been especially strained since Tokyo in 2012 nationalized some nationalist sentiments in China, which viewed the step as a change in the status quo and stepped up military patrols. For its part, Japan refuses to acknowledge that there is a territorial dispute. The two nations' security forces have steered clear of outright confrontation around the island, known as by Japan and China, so war appears a distant possibility. It would be ruinous to both their economies, which are deeply interconnected. But the propaganda battle is a serious one. According to Japanese officials, China has posted articles in nearly 40 countries, and Japan has so far responded in a dozen of them. with more plain, with no, with more plain, with no, with more plain. China began the offensive days after Abe's December 26th visit to the shrine, the first by the Japanese Prime Minister since 2006. The visit angered China and the two Koreas, where occupying Japanese forces committed atrocities before and during World War II. The visit also drew a rare expression of disapproval by the U.S. of its Japanese ally. China's tough response underscored how sensitive its people are about Japan's past abuses and current Japanese attitudes. But James Goff, a senior associate for the Asia program at the Endowment for International Peace in Washington, said China was also capitalizing on an opportunity provided by Abe's visit to put Japan on the defensive. China faced a torrent of international criticism when it declared in November an air defense identification zone over the disputed area of the East China Sea, including the island administered by Japan. China's action deepened concern over its high-handed approach to pushing its territorial claims with its neighbors and was sharply criticized by Washington. That week, China's ambassador to the U.S. took the pages of the Washington Post to argue his case in an influential publication in the capital that has a high stake in the standoff between the Asian rivals. America's treaty alliance with Japan means it could be drawn into a conflict. Q accused Abe of denying wartime atrocities and linked his homepage to his government efforts to loosen the constitutional constraints to reform Japan's military and project power overseas. Sasay up the end Friday. He criticized China's unparalleled military build-up. Nothing its growth in military spending far exceeds Japan's. He also said China's control on information and debate at home means Chinese people cannot see the truth that people throughout the world see. That's likely to go down badly in Beijing. But while the prospects for improving relations in the short term appear dim, Goff said, better to escalate on the pages of newspapers than in other ways. Now, reading about China decries foreign interference in detained academic case. China decries foreign interference in detained academic. China decries foreign interference in detained academic. China decries foreign interference in detained academic. China decries foreign interference in detained academic case. China declared what it called interference in its internal affairs on Friday, after both the United States and European Union voiced concern over the detention of a high-profile ethnic academic from the restive western region of Xinjiang. Police in Beijing on Wednesday seized Ilham Tohti, a prominent economist who has championed the rights of the Muslim community. From his home and his whereabouts were unknown. His wife and a close friend told Ilham is suspected of breaking the law. Currently, China's relevant departments are handling the case according to law. Foreign Ministry spokesman Hong Lei told the Daily News briefing, China's law is sacred and inviolable. He added, we oppose any country or party using human rights as a pretext to criticize another country's normal law enforcement and interferes in its internal politics and judicial sovereignty. The U.S. State Department on Thursday called on China to account for the whereabouts of Tohti and at least Tohti and at least 6 of his students who were also taken into custody and to guarantee their rights, including freedom of expression. Speaking to reporters in Beijing on Friday, the European Union ambassador to China said he was also concerned. We call on the authorities to clarify the charges which have not been made known and to clarify his whereabouts to his family, Eder said. I have called on authorities to treat him in line with Chinese legislation, substantiate the charges, which so far has not happened. If the charges cannot be substantiated, release him. And I think that is a general line which applies to all individuals in that situation. Tohti's detention is the latest sign of the government's increasing hotline stance on dissent surrounding Xinjiang, where violent riots in the past year have killed at least 91 people. Rights activists say Tohti has challenged the government's version of several incidents involving, including what China says is its first, its its first, its first says is its China says it says it China says its its first major suicide attack involving two men from Xinjiang in Beijing square by pointing out inconsistencies in the official account. Tati, an economics professor at Beijing's Minzu University, which specializes in ethnic minority studies, told him in November that state security agents had physically threatened him for speaking to foreign reporters. Tati's wife said she had not been given information about her husband and is followed by police when she leaves her home. Of course, I feel terrible. In 2 days, I haven't slept a minute or eaten or drunk anything. I'm extremely worried that they might have taken my husband to Xinjiang. What would I do? They haven't said anything, and I'm extremely nervous. I'm extremely nervous, she told by telephone. I really hope that the United Nations and the United States can help my husband and pay attention to his and my family's situation, she said. Many who speak a language at restriction on their culture and religion through the Chinese government insists it grants them broad freedoms. China has blamed some of the violence on the rights groups and exiles, says China exaggerates the threat to justify its firm grip on energy-rich Xinjiang, which abuts Central Asia. Now reading about Australia, sorry for inadvertent violations of waters in Indonesian waters. The Australian government apologized unreservedly to Jakarta on Friday after its navy inadvertently violated Indonesian waters during border security operations, vowed to pursue a hotline policy to halt asylum seeker boats. We deeply regret this event, Immigration Minister Scott Morrison told a press conference. Foreign Minister Julie Bishop on Thursday on Thursday. Foreign Minister Julie Bishop on Thursday night offered her Indonesian counterpart Marty an unqualified apology on behalf of the Australian government for inadvertently entering Indonesia's territorial waters, Morrison said. She also gave an assurance that such a breach of Indonesian territorial waters would not reoccur. Morrison said Australia's embassy in Jakarta will make a formal apology Friday. He said the government received information Wednesday that the Australians had entered Indonesian waters on several occasions. I should stress his occurred. I should stress this occurred unintentionally and without knowledge or sanction by the Australian government. I should stress this occurred unintentionally and without knowledge or sanction by the Australian government, he said, who heads the military-led Operation Sovereign Borders to stop asylum seekers arriving in Australia by sea, refused to detail the violations for operational reasons. Operational reasons. He said they involved the passage of a vessel or vessels on several occasions. Positional errors have been made in the movement of our vessels, he said. The personnel on these vessels believe they were at all times operating outside Indonesian waters. The Australian newspaper reported the Navy had been pushing back an asylum seeker boat when they strayed into Indonesian waters. Under the new government, asylum seekers arriving by boat are sent to Pacific Island camps for processing with no chance of settlement in Australia, while boats intercepted at sea can be turned back to Indonesia. The policy has angered Indonesia, which has suggested it could infringe its sovereignty, but there was no immediate reaction from Jakarta to the violations or apologies. The UN Refugee Agency last Friday warned that Australia could be breaking international law if it pushes back to Indonesia boats carrying asylum seekers. Morrison insisted he would not back down and there would be no change in Australia's policy, which has been characterized 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 by a near blackout on events at sea. Lies, lies, lies. The Australian government remains committed, continuing implementing continuing continuing implementing the policies to stop the boats. He said, "We will ensure the issues that led to the inadvertent breaches of Indonesian territorial sovereignty are rectified and do not reoccur." The Australian also said it had confirmed the Navy has started using lifeboats to return asylum seekers to Indonesia. A boatload intercepted near Christmas Island had been transferred to a lifeboat last week, it said. The Sydney Morning Journal detailed allegations from asylum seekers now back in Indonesia that the Navy had tricked 56. The Navy had tricked 56 of them into boarding a lifeboat in the belief they were being taken to Christmas Island. The paper interviewed a group of would-be refugees from South Asia who said they scuttled their wooden vessel last week in a bid to avoid going back. But after being rescued and kept for 3 days on a Navy ship, they were put into an orange lifeboat and thrown a document telling them to go back to Indonesia. "You have enough fuel to reach land in Indonesia," said the multilingual document dated December 2013 and 13. "You do not have enough fuel to continue your voyage to Australia. You are responsible for your own actions. If you continue on your journey, the master and crew of your boat will face harsh penalties, which may include a jail term." The men said they were dropped very close to Indonesia and were ashore in only 3 hours. Australia's military chief of staff and the head of the Border Protection Agency were from a review of the violations, Morrison said. The apology came 2 days after Morrison announced that no asylum seekers' boats had arrived in Australia for near a month, with arrivals dropping by more than 80% since the Liberal National government of Prime Minister Tony Abbott won power in September. Under the new measures set to take effect in mid-February, imports from Canada of bone-in beef from cows under age 30 months of younger will be allowed, the Economics Ministry said. Canadian and U.S. beef imports were initially banned in 2003 in the wake of various mad cow disease scares, though Taiwan has steadily lifted restrictions in recent years. boneless Canadian beef has been able to be imported since 2007.